A zero-carbon website is probably a fairly new concept to most people. While the internet isn't something you can touch, it is very real and relies on real-world resources in order to work. In this video, we'll go over how websites produce carbon emissions that affect the environment, how to make your WordPress website a zero-carbon website or close to it, and how to choose a low-carbon hosting provider. So, how does a website, something that just exists as ones and zeros, create carbon emissions? It all boils down to electricity. Worldwide, the internet and the technology that runs it uses 416.2 terawatt hours of electricity per year. So for reference, that is more than the entire United Kingdom uses. Carbon emissions from the internet account for 2% of global emissions. Within 10 years, that could be closer to 4%. If the internet were a country, it would be the 6th highest polluter in the world. But where do all of those emissions actually come from? Data centers, telecommunications networks, and the devices that we use to access the web contribute in large part. They all transfer data, which requires energy, which produces emissions as a byproduct. The average website produces 6.8 grams of CO2 per page view. So, for example, a website that gets 5,000 views per month would produce a total of 408 kilograms of CO2 every single year. Given that there are roughly 6 billion websites on the planet, that is an astronomical amount of emissions. So, how can you make your WordPress website zero carbon? It may not be possible to get all the way down to zero, but you can get very close. First, go to websitecarbon.com and learn how your site is already performing. You can see what problems to tackle first and foremost. One of the first things you'll probably want to do is focus on reducing page weight. A lean website with optimized images, clean code, and limited extra software like plugins, themes, and ads altogether means fewer resources needed to serve that website to viewers. Implement caching. At WP Buffs, we love WP Rocket for powerful and high-performing caching optimization. Basically, caching just means that browsers won't unnecessarily store information about your site, which takes up more resources. Look into using Google products. Now, obviously, use the tools that best fit your needs and your budget, but Google has one of the smallest carbon footprints of most companies of its size. Using their integrations, like Google Analytics with your WordPress website, could contribute more towards shrinking your own footprint. Use a service like Static to convert your website to a static site. Static sites are much less bulky and often perform more quickly. You can still keep the WordPress CMS that we all know and love, but when you use Static, you can cut back on the bulk of your website that ends up producing more emissions. Visit their website for more information on how this works and how you could get started. Check with your hosting provider and see if they provide HTTP 2, which allows browsers to use more than one TCP connection in order to issue parallel requests. The result? Fewer HTTP requests, which results in a faster, more efficient, and more eco-friendly website. Give the Website Carbon plugin a try. It allows you to measure and report on the carbon emissions that your site creates. It's free to use, and you can use it long-term to track and preserve the optimizations that you've done. Finally, really quickly, let's zero in on zero carbon hosting options. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned that the data center is the largest contributor to carbon emissions through your website. The data center is basically just your host or your server, that giant computer on which your website files live. Check the Green Web Foundation to find a database of eco-friendly hosting providers. A great example of a WordPress host that's dedicated to zero carbon websites is Green Geeks. They are a green power partner recognized by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Shop around and explore all of the features that a particular host offers in order to learn how green they can help your site to become.
If this video solved your problem, please let us know by leaving a comment, liking this video, and subscribing to this channel. And look out for new WordPress tutorial videos every single Tuesday.